You know what, Joe? I think Haaland is going to sign. Okay, Joe, so today we're talking about a player who has been linked sort of on and off with City. He is one of Europe's hottest prospects. He plays a position that we are so badly needing a new signing in, and that is Erling Haaland, of course. I think yourself and one of the other lads, maybe was Luke, did a video on Vlahovic and Haaland and the prospects of signing either of them, who's more likely. But, as we all know, Manchester City Football Club right now are currently sponsored by who? Yes, Puma. Puma sponsor our shirts, their brands all over our stadium. And they, as it stands, apparently are looking to sign Erling Haaland up to a 4-year deal worth £50 million over the 4 years. I'm going to read out the tweet here from City Extra and the Daily Star of Sport. Man City kit sponsors Puma want to sign up Erling Haaland as their new poster boy, offering the striker £50 million over 4 years. Should he sign with Puma, that will play into the hands of Man City thanks to their close business ties. Now, this may seem like we're clutching at straws, people at home. It really might, but I think there's more to this than meets the eye. So let's break it down. Before I give you my opinions, Joe, what does this seem like to you? Obviously, I did say we're possibly clutching on straws, but there are sponsors. They want to make him their poster boy. It would only boost both Puma, City, and probably Haaland if they're all in, working together.
Yeah, well, we've got that big 10-year, I suppose I think it was 10 years that we're a couple of years into now, that 10-year Puma deal. So it makes sense. It does boost my confidence if it does happen, obviously, being the fact that we'd both be Puma sponsored. I'm still not confident at all regarding the whole transfer as a whole, just because of what happened the summer just gone with failed striker target after failed striker target. But it would be a massive boost, and slowly but surely big clubs are, their names are going off the radar. Their names are, they either can't afford it, they don't need to. It's just, again, I'm just not confident at all, but it still would be a boost if he does sign the deal.
Listen, between yourself and Dara and a couple of the other lads, we have enough pessimism in the 1894. You know me very well at this stage, and if you're a viewer for a long time on this channel, you know me very well. I'm a hopeless optimist. But I don't like to get ahead of myself either. Let's break it down, right? So in recent weeks, there have been some subtle developments in Erling Haaland's future, what his plans are. I think a report recently suggested that he has told Dortmund he's looking for a new challenge. He doesn't want to stay past next summer. So it probably does rule out any transfer really in January, if that was something anybody was ever thinking about. That was probably never going to happen. We will realistically finish the season with the false nine system and no striker. Unless Pep decides and the club decide in a real panic in January to go out and buy someone like a Vlahovic, who I don't think that's the best option. I think the best option is to hold out for the summer and really go balls to the wall for Haaland. So let's break it down further. He's told Dortmund allegedly that he wants a new challenge and he wants to leave. And I think that's understandable. He really is one of Europe's and the world's top players at the minute. And he's hot property. He really is. He's a goal machine and he has a huge future in the game. But this Puma deal, like you said, there's that 10-year deal with Puma. They would love to get Haaland to City. City are Puma's biggest poster at the moment. You know what I mean? City are winning the Premier League. They're in the Champions League final. They're probably going to be there or thereabouts again this season, God willing. They want that sort of exposure for their top players, their top signings every single year. And think about it. If Haaland's wearing Puma boots, Puma City shirts in the Etihad Stadium, banging in goals, not just for any old team, but a really good team, it fares well for Puma. Bring it down even further, the next step. How many clubs can realistically sign Haaland? Now, I don't mean financially. There's plenty of clubs out there that could financially handle Erling Haaland at this stage. You have your Chelsea's, PSG's, ourselves. Realistically, at this stage of Real Madrid, there's no bank in Spain that's going to bounce a check from Real Madrid if they say we want Erling Haaland. How do they muster up 180 million euro, whatever it was, for a Mbappe bid during the summer? But all these clubs have serious strikers at the minute. Does Haaland want to go to Chelsea, where there's currently Lukaku, and he'll play as a second fiddle striker, or be battling for place with Lukaku, who's also a beast? Does he want to go to Madrid and compete with Karim Benzema? Granted, Benzema's slightly older, but if you watch the guy right now, he's not playing like it. Same with Bayern and Lewandowski and these kind of players. We don't have a striker. It's a natural fit. Haaland could very easily say to himself, if I go to City, even play 4 or 5 years, that still only takes me to about 26 years old, 27, could then go to Madrid when they're sick then. It's a lot to break down, but I think it's a developing story. It's by no means anywhere near what the Harry Kane story was in August. But all signs, I know, without getting too ahead of myself, signs do point towards Haaland to City, Joe, and we love a release clause. What do you think?
We do love a good release clause. I think buy-in for me for Haaland would be off the table. If he wants a new challenge, I doubt he'll stick around in the Bundesliga, especially go to one of Dortmund's rivals. I don't think he's that sort of person. Although there was in the summer rumours of Lewandowski, wanting a new challenge himself and wanting to move on. Obviously, Madrid is Madrid, bankrolled. They can sign anyone they want realistically anytime they want. I think they get Haaland if they don't get Mbappe, but obviously Mbappe is going to be a free agent, so I think that one's pretty likely to happen. I think our biggest competitors in this would be PSG, because if they do lose Mbappe, you'd think that they'd go out and they'd replace him with someone else, some other big player. Whether that be Haaland, I don't know. They'd surely be in for him. Like you said before, they don't struggle financially. They'll be able to, afford him. And you saw what they did with all the free agents they've just signed this summer. They're not afraid to go out and get the big players and spend loads on wages. So I think realistically, they'll probably offer more than we will. I don't think we'd be willing to break our good wage structure, at least not break it too much, to get him on like 500 grand a week or whatever Raiola might want. And PSG would probably be willing to do that because that's probably around what Mbappe's on now. So the only thing that I've got going for me, at least, that's giving me hope is obviously he's got a release clause, which isn't too high. And if he does sign this Puma deal, again, you'd like to think they'd like to get him to City.
Yes, absolutely, mate. I think if Puma felt it was feasible and was within their interest, which it absolutely is, it's a no-brainer, it is, I think City and Puma would come to some sort of an agreement where Puma would help fund either a signing on fee, maybe an agent's fee, something along those lines. You touched on an important point there, which was the wage structure. We know, yes, City do, as I've always said, I'm not blind to the fact that City have a big financial backing in Sheikh Mansour. No longer the biggest now, maybe throw in there, no longer the biggest. Newcastle have come blown us out of the water. But listen, we're by no means a poor club. But we do have a system. We do have transfer tactics. We do have a wage structure. Kevin De Bruyne, as it stands, I believe is the highest earner of the club at something around 400 grand a week. Raheem Sterling isn't far off. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm talking about Raheem Sterling. Because he is a player we've talked about quite a bit recently. We've had debates and conversations about his future and where that lies. And there is increasing talks about him leaving the club in the summer. Barcelona is a name that have thrown themselves in the mix for it. I'm unsure. I'm unsure about Sterling leaving. I think that's kind of a different conversation. But in this conversation, I think it's quite important. If Barca do come and take Sterling off our hands, or another club and take Sterling off our hands, if that's what City feels the right decision, that frees up quite a bit of wage space. With Sterling being one of our highest earners at the club, if he was to leave and take his 350 grand a week, whatever it is, with him, that frees up quite a bit of room for another high earner to come in. It probably makes it slightly more feasible. And on the PSG thing, I think PSG are sponsored by Jordan and Nike. They have Mbappe, they have Neymar. I think they're all sponsored by Nike. Player sponsorships aren't the most important thing in the world when it comes to transfers, but it can certainly help. Big organizations and companies like Nike, Adidas, and Puma will want to do what they can to try and facilitate their poster boys to be playing for clubs sponsored by them. Joe, what do you think of that? I was just going to say, actually, one more point before we go on. 50 million is a lot of money, by the way, for people who maybe aren't clued into how much players earn from sponsorship contracts. Obviously, people like Ronaldo and Messi are in worlds of their own, leagues of their own for, CR7 and Nike's on a lifetime contract. Messi, I think, is with Adidas or Puma. He's probably on a big fat contract. But for the average player, or like a player like Haaland's age, 50 million over 4 years for just basically a brand deal is outrageous. Joe?
I mean, it is, yeah. That's over 10 million a year just for wearing a sponsored pair of boots, really. It's just a set of football boots.
I do it for a couple quid a week. Free Puma gear. 50 million.
Yeah, I mean, that Sterling thing, it is something to think about because we need a striker more than we need a winger. I think we've got enough wingers and we could possibly ship one off regardless this summer, depending on who it is. We've got Foden who could play there, Grealish, Mahrez, Torres, Jesus. We've got a lot of players, Palmer who's coming through. We've got a lot of players who could play in them positions, especially if you value Sterling's best position being on the right. There's a lot of competition there, a lot of competition that he's not playing better than at the moment as well. So with him being one of the highest earners, and at the end of this summer, I believe he'll only have 12 months left on his contract. Personally, if the option came around to ship him off and it meant we would get Haaland, I would do it because I think we need Haaland more than Sterling. In my opinion, I think I'd rather have Haaland than Sterling at the moment, given the way our squad is. But Sterling can turn it around. It is a real headache. It is something for the board to think about. Again, I think you talked about it on the Sterling video that we did. His brand deals, just him as a marketing tool, just being there. He brings a lot to the table as well off the field. So it is something to really think about.
It is, and you made kind of a very good point there, which was we have a lot of depth in the positions that Sterling plays in. And you're probably right. If we're being cynical about it, at the end of the day, City will probably feel what you're saying come summertime, which is, why are we paying these mad wages to Raheem Sterling when we have players in this position probably doing a better job than him right now? Actually, definitely doing a better job than him right now, when we can release that weight of wages off us and spend that and probably slightly more on Haaland and bring in someone in a position that we basically desperately need someone. So it's a headache for City. Glad it's not a headache for me to worry about, but I think I firmly stand in the boat that Joe just suggested. If we could relieve ourselves of Raheem Sterling, let him go try something new, and give ourselves the wage space to fund an Erling Haaland, and maybe Puma could come in and help us. Who knows? I would be more than open to that. I would be very, very happy to see that. Like I said at the start of the video, he really is a hot property player, Erling Haaland. He doesn't joke around, and I think if he came to the Premier League, he could set that a lot as well. And I think all top players with real prospects, if he has real ambitions and prospects, Erling Haaland, he will want to at least try his hand in the Premier League at some stage, because I think it's inevitable that he will actually play for Real Madrid someday, whether that's next summer or in 5 summers' time. Who knows? He's very young, let's bear in mind, even though it feels like he's been around for actually quite a little bit of time now. Anyway, I want you all at home to leave your thoughts down below. Do you think this possible Puma deal, which seems to be on the verge of happening, bears any weight in a agreement between Haaland and City for a signing? Because I think the actual release clause won't be a problem for City. I think they'll happily pay 75 mil. It basically just comes down to wages and signing on fees and agent fees, etc. So maybe the Puma deal could, assist us on that front. Leave your thoughts down below, leave a like on the video, and we will see you very soon with some updates, some previews, the regular content. Good night, God bless.